Season 3, Episode 3 of our Beginner Weave series. This is Rondo. So Rondo is a helm-based weave. You can see the helm going right through the center here, and then it's got some extra rings added on the sides. This is a fairly intricate looking weave. It is not as hard to make as it looks. So let's get started. We are using our 18 gauge SWG rings. That's 1.2 millimeter wire. We are doing two colors for this, and this pattern will be the same as the color pattern in our Rondo kits that we've made for Valentine's Day. So we are using green and dark rose. So the first thing you're going to need, and we're just, in this video, we're just going to make a small section about 10 units long. So you will need to start with 20 closed 18 gauge SWG 1.2 millimeter wire in 3/16 of an inch, and this is dark rose, and these are closed. And then you will need 10 of the 9/32 of an inch internal diameter rings in green. So what we're going to start with is just a 1 and 2 chain. From our large rings, which are the 9/32, and our closed 3/16 rings. So we're going to put 1 of the large rings through 2 of the small rings and continue that until we are at 10 units. So I'm at the last unit here. So I've put the small rings on, and you need to make sure you end on a large ring. So I've got 10 units, so 10 large rings and 20 small rings. Now we're going to finish the helm portion of this. So you're going to need 10 closed 18 gauge 9/32 rings. I'm going to go ahead and close a couple of these, and then I'm going to show you what we do with them. All right, so you're going to need some open rings of the other color in the large rings, the 9/32 rings. Okay, so you're going to take your closed ring and sit it over those 2 rings in the middle. Okay, then you're going to take your open ring, and this is going to go through these 2 small 18 gauge 3/16 rings, and it does not go through the pink ring, the large pink ring. That is called an orbital. So it just orbits around rings and close. Okay, so you've got one side of a helm unit right now. So there's the top. That's what the side looks like. Now we're going to finish the sandwich. So we're going to take another open green ring and put it through the other side. Right, we're on the top of the piece, putting it through those same 18 gauge 3/16 rings. We need to add an orbital to the next pair. So I'm going to sit that there. I'm going to take this green ring and scoop around and go through just the next pair of 3/16 rings and close. Oops. Okay. Let me show you what that looks like. So you have one full helm unit, and you can see how the orbital is sandwiched in between the green rings. So that big pink ring is sandwiched in between the green rings. And now we're working on our next helm unit. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have an open large 9/32 and a closed pink large ring. Okay, we're going to go through that same pair of 18 gauge 3/16 pink rings right here in the middle. We're going to sit this large pink ring over the next pair, making sure you're not twisting the chain. Okay, so I've sat that there. Now I'm going to scoop this ring around, right? Scoop it around and go through the 3/16 rings in the center and close. So we've got two full helm units right now. You're just going to continue down doing the same thing. So when you get to the end unit, you need to make sure to add this last string so that you have a full helm unit, like that. And then close. So this is what it looks like right now. Now, excuse me, we are going to add our 18 gauge 3/16 rings in pink. Okay, so all of these you can open to start with if you want to. I open usually as I go along. So what we're going to do is on each end, we're going to put one of these through our orbital. That's the large pink ring. Okay. So it should look like that. And you can, when we get to the other end, we'll only put one. And then on subsequent pink rings, we're going to add two. So here's our first unit with one attached. Now we're going to go to the next orbital ring and we will attach two. So there's one and two. So you will continue all the way down, adding two to every pink or every orbital, whatever color yours is, until you get to the end, and you will add one. And if you want to go ahead and add it down on the bottom too, it's the exact same thing. This is what it'll look like when you've added the 18 gauge 3/16 rings to both sides. So these again are added to the orbitals. Now what we're going to do is take the other color, so in my case I'm using green, and starting at one end, you are going to take one of the rings. So in this case, at the end, there's only one ring. So you're going to take that ring and a ring from the next orbital, and you're just going to grab the 2 rings and close. Okay, and then, so that's what it looks like. And these will sit up a little bit more once we have all the other rings on. Then you're going to double it. And you're going to go down the entire length of your piece on both sides and do this. So I will do one more at regular speed. So I'm going to grab the inside one from the next orbital and the outside one, or the free one, from the previous orbital. And then I'm just going to close and double it. So this ring and this ring. So go ahead and do that down the entire length and also on the other side. I also wanted to mention, if your pink rings, the ones that you added down the orbitals, sort of get stuck behind the sandwiching rings, just pull it out, because they all need to be out. So just make sure they're standing up. Okay, so this is what you should have. We've got all of the green rings added, and now we need to add more green rings. So I'm going to show you with a large pink ring so you can see exactly where these next rings go. So you have, when you added your smaller pink rings, the 18 gauge 3/16 rings, they now are forming sort of a V shape. You can see that they're angled here and here. So there's your V. You're going to use one of the 18 gauge 3/16 in green rings, and all you're going to do is put a ring through those 2 rings that are forming that V shape. Okay, so I'm going to do it with a green ring now. So you're going to do it with the 18 gauge 3/16. This is color A if you're wanting to put a label on them. Or if you're following the written tutorial, this would be color A. Okay, so that's all you do. And then close the ring. Now this is a 2-sided weave. So you can see that I've added the ring on this side. Now I need to flip it over, and I'm just rotating it a little bit so I can have access to the rings. And I'm going to put a green ring, the 18 gauge 3/16 ring, in the same position as I did on the other side. And this ring is a little out of place, so I just put it where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to grab this ring and this ring, because those are the 2 that form that V. And I'm going to close my ring. Now, typically what I do, let me show you this first. Okay, so you've got a green ring here and a green ring on the other side, same position. Typically what I will do is I will just go down one side and then down on the bottom. So I'll do the top and the bottom, because you need to add one of those rings to each V shape that the smaller pink rings make. And then I'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So let's put another one in. So I'm just going to go to the second set of V-shaped rings. There. Oops. And there. Okay. And I'm going to close. And then I'm just going to, that's what it looks like. I'm just going to flip this over and find the next set of rings that make a V, which are these. Okay, and I'm going to put that ring through and then close it. So when you hold it, so you're looking down on it, you've got these two rings right here that also form a V or a peak, but we'll be doing something with that later. So go down the entire line, the entire length of your piece on top and bottom, and on the other side, top and bottom, and add those rings. So I have completed adding these rings to each V shape on this side. So I want to make sure that you see what you should be looking for. If you've added them correctly on both sides, you will see this V or peak. So we're looking at these two rings. And I'm just putting this ring in here so you, to help you visualize where the rings are. Okay. So if you haven't added them down on this other side, which I have not, go ahead and do that. And then I will show you where to place the last rings. And those will be the 18 gauge 5/32 pink rings. So this is what it looks like with all of the rings added to the V-shaped areas. Okay, so again, just go down the piece and make sure that in between these taller rings, the ones that sort of stand up, that you have a peak of two rings in between them. So the last step to this is to add our 18 gauge 5/32 rings, and these will be in pink. So all of them, if you want to open all of them before you proceed, go ahead. These rings will go in that peak, the two rings that we just finished adding. So you're literally just going to go through the peak of those two rings, and you're going to add 3 of these per section. It's going to look like that. So let me go ahead and open a few more of these. So I'll do enough for 2 sections to show you. Okay. So I'm going to put this right next to the one I just added, and you do need to make sure that the ring is going through both rings and it's not going through any other rings. You don't want to accidentally Mobius these small rings you're adding. You just want them to stand up straight. And you should have plenty of room with these ring sizes to add these. It should not be super tight. So this is what one section will look like when you add those 3 small rings. So you can either go down the rest of the side you're working on, or if you'd rather, you can flip it over and add the 3 small rings to the section that is the mirror of the one that you're working on, whichever one you want. So let's do another section. I'm just going to go straight down the length of the piece. All right, so that's our first section. So now I'm going to look for the next 2 that peak in between these taller rings, and they're right there. And they don't tend to flip up, so you shouldn't really have a problem with that. I'm just going to go straight through and close the ring. And then I'm going to add another ring, exact same place. And one more ring. Again, making sure that it's only going through the 2 peaked green rings. So this is what it will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of it. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. And then I will show you how to add the locking heart clasp. That is part of the kits that we sell, but you can use any clasp that you have or want to use. You'll just have to figure out if you need to add rings or what orientation it'll be in. So I have now added all of the small 18 gauge 5/32 pink rings to the whole piece. And this is what it looks like. So it does really sit nicely on a wrist, makes a beautiful necklace, it makes a really nice choker. You can make a belt out of this, lots and lots of things you can do with this weave. So this is the Anti-Valentine's Day kit. It makes an 18-inch necklace, and it comes with this locking heart clasp that locks and unlocks with this key. So all I did to add this was add 2 18 gauge 3/16 rings at each end, and this top piece slides right through those rings. So let me see if I can unlock this. And then I just added another 3/16 ring at the bottom to hold the lock. So it just sits in and you turn it. And then this piece pops up. Take the ring or the key out so it doesn't get all tangled up. So put this through one end and then slip it through the other end, close, push it together, and then you'll lock it with the key. So that's what that looks like. And again, you can use any clasp that you wish. So that is how you make Rondo. If you would like to get notifications, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If you have any questions about an order or a product, please contact customer service at orders@TheRingLord.com. If you have questions about a weave or one of our tutorials, please contact us at projecthelp@TheRingLord.com. I hope this video has been helpful and that you have a great day.